Hello everyone, Lance Bell back with the Lance Bell Presents Show. Today's date is Sunday, January the 13th, 2013. You can visit me at my website at realdealpolitics.net, or you can find my Facebook page at Real Deal Politics. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it's been actually a pretty busy week this week. Well, I'm going to start first off about the $1 trillion coin. Now, ladies and gentlemen, as of yesterday, they finally decided not going to make it. Now, in the article from Politico, Anthony Coley, the spokesperson for the Treasury Department, said the following. He says, quote, "Neither the Treasury Department nor the Federal Reserve believes that the law can or should be used to facilitate the production of platinum coins for the purpose of avoiding an increase in the debt limit." Finally, somebody put their foot down and said, no, we're not going to make it. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you saw my last article on this subject at realdealpolitics.net, I talked about this a little bit in depth. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it would have caused hyperinflation to no end. And I even had information to back it up when I wrote that article. You did not want to be Zimbabwe. There's sky-high inflation. If that would have happened. You just don't make coins, deposit it, boom, there's no debt. We all knew, for the most part, that was not going to happen. So hopefully it will never come back up, even though, ladies and gentlemen, I honestly think this is going to be backdoored in a couple of months in the debt ceiling fight. Now, I don't know who's going to use it yet, but it's going to be used, and it's not going to be pretty. Now, ladies and gentlemen, moving on today, I also want to talk to you about some other White House news this week. Now, in case you missed it, on Friday, Vice President Joe Biden had a conference with all the video game people. Now, ladies and gentlemen, here's part of the press conference, and I want you to watch this, and we're going to discuss it.
And then we're meeting with outfits involved in social education and you and the video gaming industry. I come to this meeting with no judgment. You all know the judgments other people have made, and I think we had a very productive meeting yesterday with the broadcast and film industry, and they had some very constructive ideas as to how they could help, and so we're looking for help.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, this fight is old as death, and let me explain. They want to go after video games for violence in this country. It's nothing new. I personally remember back in the 90s, they were going after the game named Mortal Kombat. Now, for all you Mortal Kombat fans out there, and there's a lot of you out there, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I mean, you talk about scapegoating. This makes absolutely no sense at all. If they're going to go after somebody or talk to somebody, let's not go back to the well for that. Come on, guys, you know way, way, way better than that. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I also want to talk about this subject today. Now, the last time I taped was on New Year's Eve, and this story has not broken at that point. But I am going to talk about this. The sale of current TV to Al Jazeera. Now, look, say what you want, and I'll get to that in a moment. But something popped up during all that. Apparently, Glenn Beck tried to buy it. Now, there's videos out there. He was on the O'Reilly Factor talking about it. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you can say all you want how he wasn't a player. I honestly think he was. I honestly think he actually at least put the call in, at least inquire about it. Now they blew him off, and that's documented, and that's fact. But I honestly think he was a player, but not the price they were talking about. So you can debate that to the end. Would he have been a good person? I don't know. And he'll figure it out eventually. He'll buy something. Just give him time. Also, with this whole sale, you gotta look at it like this. With Al Jazeera. Oh, I apologize. I'm looking down at my notes. This was actually a good move by Al Jazeera. And let me explain why. They've been trying to get on television here in this country for a while. Now, when they bought it, Time Warner immediately dropped them. And we all know that. You know, Time Warner kind of backpedaled on the subject. But this is good. I'm going to tell you why. Al Jazeera is what the BBC World News was 15 years ago. They do really good reporting, at least on the English site, and they do very in-depth coverage. And keep that in mind. And I know people they'll have that hysteria out there, and it's going to be talked about for months and months and months. But they're going to do the same thing that Fox News did when they first got started. And that means one thing: they're start buying their way on subscriber networks. And I'm talking about cable networks, satellite, everything. They're going to buy their way on, and we'll see in the next 2-3 years if it's going to work or not. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to talk about one more thing today. And it kind of hurts. It's the Death Star. Now, the White House finally put a statement out there. And it's funny because there was talk about it. Even yours truly signed this petition. But I'm going to say this. This is the official line from the White House and their We the People site. And here's what they said about why they're not going to do it. And this is the 3 points they used. The cost of construction of the Death Star has been estimated to cost more than $850 quadrillion. And yes, I looked that number up when Huffington Post said that particular number. I looked that up, make sure that was right, and it was. And it also goes on to say, we're working hard to reduce the deficit, not expand it. Also says the administration not support blowing up planets. And they said, why would you spend countless taxpayer dollars on the Death Star with a fundamental flaw that can be exploited by a one-man starship? Now, think about that for a minute. That's actually correct. Totally correct. Now, if you watched the original 3 Star Wars movies, they didn't have one Death Star they blew up. They actually had 1 3/4 Death Star, because they were in the process of building the second one, and the second one got blown up. And there was one fundamental flaw that they exploited, as stated here. So, ladies and gentlemen, it was a nice pipe dream, but it's just not going to happen. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for the Lance Bow Presents show. I will see you again next week, and be careful, and remember, fear the real.